Hi guys, I've had a bit of a misfire for a while. It's not much, it just affects the engine on low revs. So what I'm going to do is eliminate the injector wiring that fits on top of the cylinder head just underneath the rocker cover, as these are fairly cheap and it's worth eliminating before delving further into the engine. So stay tuned and I'll show you how I went about doing that. So I'll just try and replicate what you can hear and feel with a stationary engine, which isn't quite the same as when you're driving, but it's just at certain low revs that it occurs. So I'll just lift it just above idle and you might be able to see the engine rocking a bit, which is a bit of a misfire. Doesn't do it in higher revs, but it always seems to be there. So the first thing to do is take the rocker cover off, which is held in by 13 10mm bolts. Just loosen them off, don't take them out. They are actually semi-captive bolts, held to the rocker cover with the seal. Right, the bolts are loose. Just take the cam belt cover off. There's a clip at the back, which is hard to get to, and a little clip at the front, and then just jiggle that out. You might find you have to take the intercooler pipe off to make it easier, but you can get it off without, as you can see. And now just jiggle the rocker cover off. You might have to loosen some more bolts as you go in. It's a little bit tight by the EGR valve, but it will come out without the need to take that off. Put that to one side. Here's the electrical connections on the injectors. They're just a push clip fit, and the big round connector at the end, which is a bit of a complicated affair with a bit of a lock ring that holds it in place with the end bit enabled to swivel. So we'll get the end connection off first. So you just grab the large locking ring and turn it anti-clockwise and it'll start to pull out as it's on a bit of a cam with the socket, which you'll be able to see when I get it off. Just show you from another angle. And here's the socket with 5 connectors. One of them's earth and the rest go to the injectors. Obviously the orientation's got to be right, and you'll find that there's 2 indented keyways, one larger than the other. The larger one fits onto the bottom part of the connector with a narrow one at the top. And then the lock ring has got 3 locking lugs that locate onto the cam on the connector housing. And as you turn it, they move along the cam and pull the socket into position, locking it into place. Mine was a bit gritty, so I sprayed it with some contact cleaner, which I'd recommend doing. We've got to take this bracket off here with this 13mm bolt, and there's 2 further bolts that hold the loom's housing in place just here, and these are 10mm. So we'll get the bracket off first. All the pipes are in the way a little bit, but I managed to get a 1/4" wrench on it. You might find it easier with ring spanners. Broke that loose, but you'll get that out with my thumb and forefinger now. This bolt's got Loctite on it, so if you want to put it back you can put a bit more Loctite on it. The bracket just pulls out from an expandable lug. That's the bracket. I think I'll take the top bolt out first. Once the bolt's out, you can wiggle the housing loose from the cylinder head. It's quite a tight fit. Take a note of the keyway alignment and pin alignment, as you want to replace it in exactly the same position. Once it's loose, you can pull it out. Here's the new one. It's quite long and it's got a couple of clips on it. You have to draw it alongside the battery box. It will bend a little bit. It'll go in between the space between the battery box and the airbox. But I think I'll lift the top of the battery box up first. Gives me a bit more space. So I'll just put it there, jam it in position. So to make it easier to pull out, you disconnect each injector connector with a pair of long nose pliers and then bend it round and reattach it to the rail, the plastic wiring loom rail. It just clips back in. This enables it to fit back through the holes easier without it snagging on the cylinder head block. That's the first one. Here's the second. And finally the last two. All in position now. Nice and secure for me to pull it out. As you pull it out, you'll see you get jammed with the clips, the metal clips on the wiring rail. So you can use your long nose pliers again or a screwdriver to bend and push the clips through the holes, bending and pushing at the same time. Pull it out and feed it between the battery box and the airbox. And it eventually will come out. There we are. One injector wiring loom removed. And fitting the new one is just the reverse of that, minus the clips, as they'll just push together as you're pushing it in. No problem. It's just the last bit on the housing that's difficult. Mine was a bit tight and you had to align it squarely and then push it home too, right up and over the seal. Make sure you've got it in position correctly with the pins in the same position as you took it out and the keyways in the same position. Then replace all the bolts. Before you put the connector back, I'd recommend spraying the contacts with contact cleaner, both on the housing and the connector, and all the individual connectors to the injectors. Take your time putting the housing connection back together. You must get the pins in the right place. So you've got to align the keyway up first and make sure the locking ring moves freely. Mine didn't, and I had to free it up with a bit of WD-40 so it moved freely before it actually fitted on correctly. Both the keyway on the connector and the locking ring nodules have to all line up before the locking ring pulls it into position. Spray both the connections in the wiring loom end and the injector connector with contact cleaner to eliminate any oil or contaminants. Let that dry and then reconnect the connectors. Make sure everything's working before you put the rocker cover back. You might lose a little bit of oil, but you're only doing it for a short time. That's working, so I can put the rocker cover back now. I've got to clean up the surfaces on the head, remove all the extra silicone sealant that I put on, and then reapply it in the cracks of the corners where you have to apply it to stop it leaking. Thoroughly dry the rubber seal on the rocker cover box. Then reinstall and jiggle into place. Aligning all the bolts and then gently tighten them up with a 1/4 inch ratchet. Finger tight initially, and don't forget to reattach the fuel pipes as you go in, and then with a torque wrench to the specified torque, which is 10 Newton meters. All done in the correct order, which I'm sure you'll find in another one of my videos taking the rocker cover off, which I'll leave a link in the description at the end of the video. Reattach the crankcase breather. Jiggle the cam belt cover into place and attach the clips. And we're done. Put the engine cover on and check the oil now. Which is a little bit low, so I'll just add a bit. Just got to test it down the road now. And everything was fine until I started to pull away. Don't know if you can hear that, but that started the misfire again. So I checked everything several times and couldn't get it to work anymore. The misfire had returned and was worse than ever. And all I could put it down to was the wires on the new loom were slightly narrower than the OEM original version, as this was a cheap one off a well-known auction site. So if you do this, I'd recommend you get an OEM one or a high quality one, as I had no alternative but to take this one out and put the original one back in. So a lesson was learnt there. Don't buy cheap stuff. Anyway, the removal and installation is the same, so if you get a new one, that's what you do. I'm just being honest to what happened to me, so I'll have to buy a new decent one at some stage and fit that instead. But for now, I'm back on the road, as you can see, and I think it's running a little bit better, as I did clean the contacts up, which is always a good thing to do. So thanks for watching, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll be glad to get home from this.